Our first princess. Candidate number 5, Ariel Calino.
Presenting the award of Miss World Philippines 2015 First Princess, Cassandra Naidas, and Ambassador Rolando Alibon Guevara Alvarado.
Hello, my name is Ariel Calino. I am the Miss World Philippines 2016 First Princess, and now I live here in Dubai. I'm a senior educational consultant for an education firm, and we help students who want to study in the US and also in Canada. I'm someone who loves traveling and living in different places. I've lived in Singapore, Thailand, US and Philippines. I moved from the Philippines to here just to experience a new culture and see what Dubai has to offer. It was so sudden. It was such a surprise, even to me. I thought I only started packing the day before. So I was like, oh, it didn't really hit me that I was going to Dubai until I was on the plane. I think I just wanted to see what it would be like to live independently again. You know, when I was in Harvard at Georgetown, I was also independent. My family was either in California or in the Philippines. So I really missed that sense of, being independent, doing things on my own and exploring on my own. I went to Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and I studied pre-law. So I did comparative religion. I also studied political science classes, sociology, just a range of different classes. And after that, I did my master's at Harvard University, but I worked in between.
What kind of work did you do?
I worked for the Ministry of Education in Thailand for 1 year, and then after that, I went to the Philippines and I competed in Miss World Philippines. During that time, I also did some volunteer work for the US Embassy Manila, similar to what I'm doing now. So I was helping Filipino high school students who want to study in the States.
How old were you when this all happened? Joining the pageant and all that stuff?
I would say, I think I was 22 or 23. That was my first pageant in the Philippines. And then after that, I did Binibining Pilipinas 2017.
So I'm very curious about that actually. What got you into the world of pageants?
It started off as a scholarship opportunity. So when I was in the US, when I was still living there, I joined pageants as a way to gain scholarships to help fund my education. And once you start an activity, you get really addicted to it. And I think that sort of drove my competitive nature. I'm kind of a competitive person. And I wanted to continue doing this passion of mine, competing in pageants. And also I think it's a good way to raise awareness of your advocacy. So mine throughout my years of pageantry has been education and helping disadvantaged youth pursue their educational goals.
What made you decide to take a master's in Harvard?
It was my dream for a while. Ever since I was working at the Ministry of Education in Thailand, I had told myself, I want to apply to this specific program, international education policy. But I waited for 4 years because I was scared of failure. I was scared of rejection. But finally you said, you know what? You never know unless you try. So I applied and I got in, and it was definitely a really great milestone in my life to be able to say that I graduated from there at 25 years old.
How has being in the pageant world changed you as a person?
I feel like I've changed in a lot of ways. So I used to be very, very shy, very, very reserved. And now, I'm more sociable. I love going out, meeting different people. Before, I wouldn't have believed that, I could move to Dubai by myself. I came here not knowing anyone. So I think pageantry really imbued in me a sense of confidence. And to this day, I'm really thankful for what competing in Miss World Philippines and competing in Binibining Pilipinas gave me.
So where do you live here in Dubai?
Marina.
What do you love to do there when you're at home?
Netflix, that's one thing. I also love hanging out with my flatmates, specifically like the 3 brothers that I have. And I also like going to JBR. It's walking distance, so going either in Marina, there's different restaurants there, or JBR, it's really fun.
Where else in Dubai do you love to go on your free time?
Dubai Mall. Definitely Dubai Mall. I don't shop, I don't really like buy anything, but I love walking there, exploring the different shops there. And I love the Dubai fountains. I think most of my videos on my phone are just the Dubai fountains.
What can you say about the Filipinos who are based here in the UAE?
They are so hardworking, and they're also they're very kind and very genuine. When I first moved here, like upon arriving at the airport, I experienced something that was kind of racism, but right away, like Filipinos who I've never met before, they stepped in and they defended me. So I really appreciate that the Filipinos here, they treat each other like family, even if they don't know each other personally.
Have you ever come across people who recognize you on the streets or probably like take a selfie with you?
Yes, I have, and I've seen them in Dubai Mall. I've seen them around my area as well as Karama. When I was actually yesterday, I was at Mall of the Emirates eating, and the waiter noticed me. So it's cool, but it also puts a little bit of pressure on me to always look like this, like glammed up.
That was actually my second
Yeah.
question, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, is that really difficult for you to glam up? Like, because like you have that sort of pressure, right? People will tend to recognize you on the streets, and they sort of have this sort of impression of you on their head. So, like, how do you deal with that, and what do you do with it?
It's flattering, and I think that it's really cool. And when sometimes they message me on Instagram like, oh, I saw you at Dubai Mall just walking. So I always want to respond. And actually, I've met up with 3 of them already in person at Dubai Mall, at JBR, just to hang out with them and to get to know them. And I think it's really good for me also, since I came here not knowing anyone. It's good for me because I get to connect with Filipinos, and it's really good to make friends here.
What's a typical day for you?
I go to work and then I eat and then I go back home. But on the weekends, the weekends are my days to really explore Dubai. So whether it be going to Al Serkal or going to Dubai Mall or just exploring Marina and JBR, I really love exploring different places that I haven't seen yet, specifically restaurants. My favorite restaurant here, one of my favorite ones, is Bait Al Mendi, and that's near Mall of Emirates. And there's also another one that I like, so the Salt Bay restaurant. You know that guy that goes like this? Yeah, he has his own restaurant here, so I really like the meat there. But yeah, I just love exploring Dubai. I love the old Dubai Museum I think it's in Dira area. So I've been there like 3 times already, and I always bring my friends who visit to that museum.
Can you tell us about your hobbies and your other talents that people probably don't know of?
Sure. So I really love playing the piano by ear. I actually don't know how to read notes. I was so hard-headed before, so I took classes before, but I just never practiced, I never listened, and I would prefer like just playing by ear. So I do that. What else? I write poetry. I really like arts. I love visiting different art museums. I've been to Al Serkal a few times, and lately I've been experimenting with Arabic calligraphy. I think I was inspired by moving to Dubai, so that's my latest, I guess, obsession.
So what got you started into poetry?
I've always loved writing. When I was 7, I remember I wrote like this book on my dad's Microsoft Word called My Life, and it was just like 52 pages of, I don't even know, like my thoughts. So it kind of started from free writing, and from free writing that eventually transformed into poetry. And then when I was 14, I wrote my first poem, and it was for a scholarship, an essay writing contest, and I got first place. And ever since then, I think that sort of gave me drive to write more poetry and to enter more contests. But even, you know, regardless of whether I'm entering a poetry writing contest or not, I just love writing and I love reading poems.
What was your most memorable poem so far, and can you say a line or two for us?
So I don't memorize my own poetry, but I do know this poem called "The Square Root of Three" by David Feinberg. It's really nerdy. I'm like such a nerd, but it's called "The Square Root of Three." I fear that I will always be a lonely number like root 3. A 3 is all that's good and right. Why must my 3 keep out of sight? Beneath this vicious square root sign, I wish instead I were a 9. For a 9 could thwart this evil trick with just some quick arithmetic. So that's half of it, but I like memorized the whole thing. I'm such a nerd, yeah. Oh my god, I'm such a nerd. Are you gonna include that? Oh my gosh.
And you also know a lot of languages. I read about that as well, right?
Yeah.
How many languages do you know?
Spanish, Arabic, Egyptian. So I'm not like fluent in all of these, but I learned them at some point, whether in college at Georgetown or just on my own. So Arabic, Spanish, Egyptian, Filipino, English, and Thai. I had to learn Thai because when I lived in Thailand, the English proficiency there is rather low, so I had to learn basic conversational Thai. Like with Tagalog, I have 2 of my favorite people here, Hamsija and Irish. I tell them, you have to speak to me in Tagalog all the time. So that sort of helps.
Are you not fluent in Tagalog?
You know what? I can understand it, but the grammar is really hard for me. So you could speak to me in Tagalog and I'll totally understand it, but I will respond back in Taglish. And there's a lot of K words like nakakainis, or there's, what's the one that means like don't worry or I'm worried or something? It's the long one. It's that long Tagalog word that it's hard to pronounce. Do you know what I mean? No?
Not really.
No? Okay. It's like I'm worried or something. How do you say I'm worried in Tagalog?
Ace.
Oh, he's on the phone. Never mind. Yeah. There's just like really long words that I have trouble pronouncing. And my friends think it's cute, but it's like I want to be able to like speak it fluently within the next 3 years. And I'm hoping that that's possible.
Was that like ever a hindrance for you when you were joining pageants, right? Because people tend to sort of identify with you if you can actually speak the
That's
language.
true.
So how do you work with that?
Well, there's a lot of, you know, half-halves in Philippine pageantry, and a lot of them actually can't really speak Tagalog as well. But also in Binibining Pilipinas, for example, and also in Miss World Philippines, we're encouraged to speak English because ultimately the winner will go on to the international stage and they'll have to speak English.
What are your plans in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, I have a lot of goals and dreams that I want to do. I do want to go back to the Philippines at some point, maybe open a business, or I do want to take the foreign service test. That's actually coming up in February, so I might study for that. I like to write, so I want to continue with my writing. I also love photography. That's something I didn't mention. I do love photography. I'm sort of a newbie in photography, so I'd like to have my own exhibit. I know that's like very ambitious, but maybe within 3 years, I'm giving myself 3 years. Like I want to do some of these things for sure.
Obviously, I'm sure you've already taken beautiful photos of areas in Dubai that you like, right?
Yeah.
Which areas here have you taken photos of?
Burj Khalifa, I've taken a lot of those. I went to Dira. I really like the gold souk there. They have really colorful spices. I haven't been able to go to a lot of mosques yet. I really want to go to the Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi, but I went to do like the desert safari with my friends who visited, and it was really nice to take photos of the sand dunes.
If you were to describe yourself,
Three words. Creative, definitely creative. You know what? I know in Tagalog, ambiciosa has like a negative connotation, but I think that I am like an ambitious person in the sense that I have goals in mind that I really want to achieve. Is there a word aside from ambitious? Let's see. I'm driven, so I have goals, creative, and my third would be I'm a nerd. I mean, obviously, I was able to recite that poem.
What's the wackiest thing you've ever tried here? It could be food or experience.
Flyboarding. You're on this board and then water shoots from the bottom, and so you're lifted off. And when I did it, I thought I was so high in the air, but then when I watched the video, it was like that high from the water. So I was like, oh, okay. But it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it, and I actually want to do it again. I'm scared of heights. Like I fear heights, but I noticed with like a lot of things that I fear, at first, like I don't do it. I take time until I convince myself eventually, like I'm just gonna do it. You know, you only live one life, so I'm probably gonna do it at some point. I'll be honest, I'm not gonna be here long term, but I'm very, very appreciative and grateful of the time that I am here so far, and you know, I have no regrets moving here.
What have you learned from your experience living abroad?
It's so important for you to make an effort to adapt. Not only, I'm kind of against the term assimilate, so not assimilate, but rather integrate. So, you know, making friends with the locals or people that have lived here for a long time, and not just teaching or not just learning from about their culture, but also teaching them about your own culture. And I think that sort of creates environments of respect and understanding, and also you learn from each other. So that's how you build lifelong friendships.